Welcome to I was going to say Justify. Welcome to the Leftovers Rewatch. We're on episode 4, BJ and the AC. Thanks for everyone who's joining us. Hope you had a happy and safe Easter. I know I did. I had a safe one. How's it going, guys?
Excellent.
Good.
And Ethan just said, I can't take it anymore. My green screen's not working. So should we wait for him to come back?
No, I think we can start with the recap.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were talking beforehand. I forgot about this episode being about the baby Jesus, the whole storyline behind the baby Jesus, because we start off with them making babies, and it's kind of creepy, even though it's just, I'm thinking, okay, this is where they start with that, I don't want to spoil people, haven't seen it, but that's like, that's right. That's where they start with this whole,
boom.
whole, but it wasn't. They were actually making a baby Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I got a question for you guys. Is there a term for this type of almost like opening montage that starts with something completely like abstract and then hones in on something very specific? And is this something that Lindelof has used before in other shows? Like, was there any opening of a Lost episode or Watchmen that used something similar like this?
Well,
it's a very Breaking Bad-y kind of opening.
Okay.
Right? Like when they're putting spoiler, when they're putting the meth in the chicken batter kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
What about Juliet making her biscuits?
Yeah, I guess. I guess I would think about like the first episode. Is it season 2 Lost, where we see Desmond doing his routine?
Yes.
And then at the end of the scene, we find out that he's actually in the hatch, right?
Right. And I think they did it quite a few times on Lost, where it would be this misdirection of.
Where they?
I remember the time. Yeah, I remember the time first watching it. I go, "What is?" I had no idea what was going on. But
Right.
It was all about the nativity scene and that being baby Jesus, and
then suddenly gone.
Yeah, suddenly the baby's gone, and so. But I did like the I put down Patty and Kevin talk, but they don't really talk. Patty just stares and.
Well, she talks with her eyes, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, she's great actress. I mean, Amy Brannigan with her acting and later on. But I do like where Kevin says, "Hey, do you want something to drink? Some water, some coffee, soda, Drano."
Remind you of anything recently? Ingesting Drano or ingesting bleach or anything? No, that's just me. Okay, sorry. Recent history.
Moving on.
I just put down about how like this will become my greatest on-screen like pair in history. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's nice to see this. Like, there's lots of origins in this episode that I really like.
Well, because we know Kevin hates the GR. He just hates him because it's obviously ruined his life. His wife has left him and everything else, and he has to deal with him all the time. He wants him to back off, but it's all And then Patty said, it's family. It's going to be a family day. And then Patty writes down, there is no family. What does that mean? And he gets all crazy. But we find out Kevin has a plan. He wants them to show up. Because if they show up on school grounds, they can be arrested.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Dennis is right on it, too. He knows exactly what's happening.
Yeah, Dennis is quick.
Yeah, Dennis is quick.
Kevin tries to call Tommy. Tommy's phone is no longer in service. Mm-hmm. And this freaks out Kevin. And then we see it's a interesting scene. Tommy and Christine are in some place, and some dude's walking around with no pants. Some big guy. He tells Christine, "I know what's inside of you."
Mm-hmm.
You're lucky that this is my background today because it was this close to being
the naked guy,
the guy with the blur. You know what I mean? Mildly unnecessary, but
I mean, it was clever the way that they had this guy alternating between like a British accent and speaking Russian. or some sort of Slavic language, right?
Yeah.
So really, it's almost like, the simple explanation is probably the guy was high on something, right? He's
right.
walking around pantsless, right? But of course,
but he did know because Christine tells everybody everything.
Right, but at this point in time, as people are watching the show, they're still not sure if they're watching Leftovers or Lost, right?
Right.
Yeah. But his credit in the actual credits is crazy bearded German man.
Interesting, because he didn't say a single word of German.
Right. Well,
I don't make the rules. I don't know what happens. And then Kevin asked Jill where Tommy is. I don't know. I haven't talked to him in 2 months. I don't know. Then they talk about baby Jesus. I didn't take it. I didn't take baby Jesus.
Yep. And Amy's kind of there, just kind of like aggravating the situation a little bit, right?
Is she or is she trying to help though?
It's hard to say.
Well, she said the whole school was talking about the baby Jesus missing, and if like people aren't caring about religion as much anymore, and people have their eye on other cults or whatever, why would the whole school, especially younger people, even care about that? Like, shouldn't that be like so insignificant? So I feel like that's a red flag right there that Amy is kind of pushing. Maybe him to find out that Jill did it or something like that.
Well, they're making it seem like a big deal because even the mayor goes to Kevin, you need to buy a baby Jesus. You need to replace this one. And he's like, I don't want to buy a baby Jesus. Why do I have to buy a baby Jesus? Because you need a win. So
first of all, that's a really annoying management doublespeak that I get from working in retail. You need a win, that kind of stuff. And I mean, he's got better things to do. He's the chief of police.
But we glossed over the most important part of that scene with two things. One, you see Jill put the present down, which we later on find.
That's right. Yeah.
But what I thought was the more important scene was that after Amy gives Kevin kind of that look like you screwed up, where Kevin says, "Are you enjoying my sandwich?"
Yeah.
And then her facial reaction is she doesn't show any shame. She does something that makes it look even more like flirtatious, right?
Yeah.
And he just walks out of the room because it's like, this is just a weird situation.
Yeah, I can't deal with this, is what he's saying. But the mayor made it seem like the baby Jesus was a big deal, that people were just freaking out over the baby Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We find out, well, we'll get to that later on. But then Kevin's looking for the baby Jesus. He finds the baby Jesus, and he doesn't buy the baby Jesus. He decides he's going to find the baby Jesus.
I think it's really interesting, and I think the metaphor here is that people all around the world take religions off the shelf. They also pick and choose which Bible verses they want to abide by, aka picking them off the shelf. And I think that's a nice metaphor.
I didn't think about that. Good point.
And it gets doubled down when Tommy paints the target on his head too. He picks and chooses what he needs to get by.
Exactly.
Wow, this is a pretty deep show.
Yeah, well.
On Easter.
Yes. I do like when he's talking to Dennis and he starts saying the effing baby Jesus, all this different stuff. His car suddenly clonks out. I mean, everything just goes wrong with his car. It won't start. His brakes are going out. And was it because it was a coincidence? Or was the baby Jesus getting upset with him?
I mean, that's a most Lindeloffian thing that happened so far in the whole show, as far as I'm concerned. Is that
I think that anytime that happens, it's a coincidence.
Okay.
I think anytime that happens, it's great TV writing.
Yeah.
Well, yes, because it confuses the viewer. Is this something religious? Is this another rapture? Why did people go away? These are all the questions everybody's asking, the viewers and the characters.
More importantly, Caleb, it confused Kevin.
Yeah. And then Randy in chat says GR sabotage. So but I do like the next scene because we have Christine and Tommy. They're in the ER. Find out she's pregnant with Wayne's baby. She's got a huge bruise on her stomach from that guy. But they think that the doctor doing the thing is looking at Tommy and not really speaking to. She's not speaking to Tommy. She's speaking to Christine because she thinks that Tommy's the one that caused. And as a doctor, you see something like that, you'd have to assume, right or wrong, that's what's going on because you're supposed to under your.
And Tommy knows what's going on too. He's like, I need to get out of here because this is,
Yeah.
But even before they do the medical test, where they're sitting in the waiting room, you can see there, like in Tommy's personality, how much of Kevin is in it, right?
Yes.
By his proclivity to curse, and the tone that he uses. So he's like, "You're gonna effing shut up," with the big smile on his face, right? And so, and as Ethan was talking about, like, he realizes that like something's going on, and he has to basically escape from the hospital. And the thing about it is, like, that scene where he's being chased and he falls down and he runs to the hospital. It's kind of like it is kind of out of place for the rest of the series, but it shows just like how wide a range the show has, right?
Right.
It's like you really, like, as you're watching this, you really have no idea where the show will go.
Do you think Tommy was right to tell Christine she needs to stop talking to people and telling them everything?
Absolutely.
I mean, he's obviously under pressure and stressed because he's, his job is to protect her, and this is what I was told I have to do. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to do this, but yet she's doing everything in her power to use Randy's word, sabotage.
Do we know Christine's age?
Underage.
Yeah, she
sure.
was underage. Yeah. Well,
okay. I knew he had it. Holy Wayne has a thing for underage, Asian girls. But I didn't know how old she was. I feel like being very young and vulnerable in that situation, she should kind of understand the importance of what's going on. But I think in reality, it's just you're going to be acting any sort of way, and you can't really blame them for doing that. But I think Tommy is trying to like really help them. And she's, once again, so young, the age factor there, that talking to somebody just like, hey, how are you? She doesn't understand that like that could cause major problems,
That's a great point because we see her, was it the first episode or second episode? She's talking to Tommy, and Wayne doesn't want her talking to, she's special. You can't be talking to her, or whatever his motives were behind that. I think it's something else, but either way, we do get the rapping twins, which I thought was great because the twins are just comic relief, and they're rapping. Kevin pulls them over, and I like when he says, "Which one's the smart one?" Now, isn't that the second time we've heard that about those two, or am I just
something like that?
I'm not sure.
No, I just remember like he said something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Officer, we didn't know you were police," or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm going to ruin your dreams of getting high in college.
Yeah.
And they said, we don't get high now, or something like that.
Or
right?
something like, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way that Kevin was pulling them over in the truck and swerving and driving very aggressively like that is almost like a lifted scene for scene from Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me.
Really?
And I'll send you guys a link later. I just noticed that as I was rewatching it now. So,
well, I think there needs to also be a disclaimer that Kevin is currently in a profession that can be very risky when you are personally invested or involved in a situation, and therefore he's trying to break the law himself by hoping to catch the GR crossing the lines, and then once again driving erratically, as you mentioned. So that's just kind of a heads up. But that's
I think at this
where
point,
I
think at this point, Kevin is just breaking. I think he's crashing. we know that Jill took the baby. We have the scene where Amy says you should give it back. You know, your dad. Look at your dad. He's stressing out. But then they go to the party, and some kid is doing something to the baby Jesus. I don't want to talk about it.
That's the Jay Glatfelter character from the pilot, right? It's the same guy, right?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Then Jill decides they got the Nerf arrow thing, right? And they're going to do was it a Roman burial?
Thing, right?
Viking burial where they put them out and they shoot. We saw it in Game of Thrones also. And then Jill, they put gasoline all over the baby Jesus, push it out in the lake, and Jill doesn't do it. She decides not to do it.
It's like she can't bring herself to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've done everything else. The least respectful, the most respectful thing at that point you could do to the baby Jesus was light it on fire.
Right.
She can't fully embrace or fully let go, and neither can her mother.
Right.
That's true.
You think she knew deep down her dad had to retrieve the baby Jesus?
No.
Okay, I'm trying to give Jill.
May have made a factor. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it just shows this cognitive dissonance between her attachment to things like the Christmas ornaments, right? Where in one of the first scenes, she's like, "I don't want those ornaments; those are Grandpa's. I want mine," right? And then basically vandalizing baby Jesus. I mean, it's two extremes. I think it just signifies the turmoil that she's dealing with. Just on an everyday.
I'm just saying maybe the line with Amy saying you should give it back. Maybe it was put there to think that, okay, maybe Jill was thinking also, all right, I can't burn baby Jesus. My dad's going crazy as it is. I'm looking for anything to get those two back together.
I'm a negative Nancy, so I'm sorry. I just don't. I think she's a teenager and she doesn't think. I don't think she gives a rat's ass about what her parents think, except her mom now that she's gone.
Okay, I can live. I raise teenagers. I can probably back that up 100%. The two, those were GRs, right? They were standing next to Tommy. And they handed him a pamphlet and stuff like that.
I was blank inside, right?
Yes.
It was blank inside, and it was just a coincidence that at his moment of absolute uncertainty or whatever it is, that the phone rings and it's a robocall.
Yeah, I thought I was going to ask him about extending his warranty on his car, but it was completely different. But it just pisses him off. I mean, wouldn't it piss you off to get a robocall like that? Mm-hmm. I mean, to be honest with you, I get pissed off when I get robocalls all day long.
Well, he was about to get on that bus, right?
Right. And he's like, I'm done taking care of Christine. I'm done. Maybe he was going to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. I do like when Kevin comes home, he sees Meg and Lori at his front door. And I thought this coming up, was just a fantastic scene and fantastic acting.
Mm-hmm.
You could see the hurt in actually both Lori and Kevin's face. You could just see that the torment. He's trying to offer him, hey, do you want this? You want this? Of course, Meg starts reading the letter, and he's basically tells her to shut the F up. I'm tired. I want you to say it. You say it. And Lori wants to file for divorce. And that's when Jill walks in. And I'm like going, that's what I wanted to talk about. Is Lori, because at this point, we don't know why Lori's with the GR. We don't know anything. We do know she has 2 kids and a husband. And she probably didn't know about the gutter cleaning. Am I right? So at this point, is Lori a good mom? Is she a bad mom? From what we know.
Like, is she a good witch or a bad witch kind of way?
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's a serious question. If she's got 2 young children. I mean, not 2 young children, 2 teenage kids, right? And Tommy might not be a teenager anymore, but still, he needs his mom. And especially with all this stuff that's happened in the last 3 years, you can see how it's affected everybody. Should she just go, okay, I'm checking out, I'm going with the GRs, forget about me, all that stuff, or Is she? Okay, is it okay that she did it? I mean, I'm just asking you three and anybody listening. If
All right, I think we should all answer this question, starting with Caleb, then Ethan, then Eckhart.
Okay.
Well, first of all, there is no such thing as good or bad, and
you're not running for office, Caleb.
I'm not what?
You're not running for office.
Well, no, I mean literally though. There are good and bad decisions, maybe, and I think Lori has made several poor ones on her part. Knowing what she has gone through has made me understand why she would make the choices that she does.
But I'm saying we only know from what we know at the 4th episode.
Right. But from what we only know, it seems that she's not a good mother, but is having some reservations about it. Let me rephrase that. It seems that she's made some bad decisions, but she's having some reservations about if she should have done them or not.
Okay.
That's how I feel about it.
Okay, all right.
Okay. I was a blanket. She's a terrible mother when you first asked us this question, but I've changed my mind. But now I have to think about it as you're seeing the show now.
Yeah.
Knowing, I can't not know what I know. So I'm not going to say what I know.
But you have to use your badge. You have to use your badge. Say you're watching this for the first time and you're thinking this. I'll tell you. I'll give you my answer. When I'm watching this for the first time, I go, "She's a terrible mom."
She's a terrible mom, but you can't take care of anyone if you're such a basket case inside that you're interfering. It will affect that situation negatively.
And
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll springboard off that, because the thing that I was thinking about was I was thinking, what happened that we don't know about at this point in time, middle of episode 4, that broke this person so much that they felt the need to abandon their family, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the real question where I land on, not if she's a good or bad mother, right?
Her decision also has affected the 3 people, the rest of her family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you can say, just looking at what we've seen so far, she's a bad mother, but you can also be like, Kevin's a bad cop. Jill's, whatever. You can look at different people. Matt's a bad pastor or whatever, not really a man of God or whatever you want to call it. Right. So I think our first impressions is supposed to, I think we're supposed to be thinking that, but
definitely thinking, but the reason I think Jill is the way she is because her mom just said, "I'm done." But the worst part is she didn't leave town. Jill can still see her mom all the time, but her mom can't or won't talk to her.
Right.
That to me is, I think I've never been in that situation, but I think if she had left town, it'd have been a lot easier. And and Tommy, we have to assume at this point the reason he did leave town is because he couldn't keep seeing his mom and not being able to talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's like my take on all this is in terms of the people that join the GR, from what we know so far, are broken, right?
Right.
And so it's not so much about willful decisions about, do you decide to make your children their breakfast or not? It's like there's something completely broken in them, where that they can't function anymore under whatever norms or whatever obligations they had before. Right. So it's kind of like, to me, the importance of that scene isn't about, is Jill a good or a bad mother? It's the scene where I think Kevin's emotional state gets ratcheted up from already 5 now to 5 from what is it, Ethan, from double forte to tres forte in music?
I don't know, man. I just read chords, but my notes only really have about it is that Thoreau really shows up here, and if you're in any way concerned about in terms of acting, and I wasn't, about who they've chosen to lead this ship. You know what I mean? This really like that. This is a really like a notch up as far as like kind of what you're dealing with intensity as far as like acting.
Oh, like I said, the acting was amazing in this scene.
Yeah.
I do want to say another thing real quick regarding Lori as a good or bad mom. If I had a mother who had done that, knowing what we know so far, in the show, I would never speak to them again. So, and I think Jill would have every right, or whoever in the situation has every right to be that way. Now, if Lori was forthcoming and told everybody what was going on, she may not have even went to the GR in the first place, but things happen to her that are kind of inexplainable, and so I feel like she may have not. There's that same worry that we kind of go back to: is somebody going to believe me? What do I believe in? Am I telling the truth? Do you believe me when I say this? Can we still, stick together after all of this? And I do want to, say that Jill is completely justified in having no relationship with her mother whatsoever after this.
I agree.
Do
So
you
it
think
was nice of her to do the, gift.
Are we shocked that Kevin was so? You think at this point, what's it been 6? How long? Did they say how long it's been since she's been part of the GR? It's been a while. That you think he would say fine? You're not gonna talk to me, but no, he was upset. And again, like you said, Ethan, it was great acting, and even with Amy's with acting, when you're not saying anything and you can still give that greater performance, I just think that's amazing. We do get where Jill gives Lori the Christmas gift, and of course Kevin goes, "Where's mine?" No, I'm kidding. So he gives him and we're all wondering what the gift is. And to be honest, I forgot about it until she started before she just opened it up. I go, "Oh, she brought Lori a lighter, which is perfect for the GR." They all need a
Jill's
lighter.
a good gift giver in that one.
Mm-hmm.
She is, and it says, "Don't forget me." And it's like, I don't know how you can watch that scene and not get a little choked up.
Yeah.
It's just like, "Don't forget me, Mom." It was like, we've just been talking. That's why I wanted to talk about that.
Because even though she doesn't know what happened to her mom, around departure time or whatever, she, in knowing how her mom has treated her and her whole family and her father, who's doing his best to help her, knowing all that, Jill still was like, "Here's a gift." And I felt like that was her way of, please don't forget me, as in this is over. At least remember me. I know you're on your new path now. Goodbye. And I feel like that was it wasn't a, let me have my mom back. I think Jill is kind of over that a little bit.
I think so. Also, yeah, I agree. And then Meg goes, "Well, you should keep it. I won't tell anyone."
I know, and I'm still loving Meg. I love Meg so much, and then like the show makes it whoop, flip. But like I love her reading that, to Kevin, and him being like, "Shut up," and she would not. She kept reading.
To be honest, I would probably have said the same thing to her.
Oh, for sure. I would be
just as angry, just as
But it's sweet Liv Tyler, and she seems so nice.
It would have been better if she did it Elvish, though, right? Come on.
Yeah.
She was really not that thing you do. I know that. So there you go. But Lori takes the lighter and just throws it in the drain, just tosses it in.
Gosh, that was the moment. If you want to talk about, we're supposed to hate her. Yep, right there.
I think we do, but at the end we find out that the reason do you want to just talk about it now anyway?
Twisty, yeah.
I think she knows she's going to come back and get it.
Yeah, because I think she doesn't trust Meg not to tell the other GRs that she has this gift. I think that's why she threw it in the drain. Because why would she come back to get it?
I think on one hand,
she doesn't know Meg that well.
No, I think on one hand that she is trying to be an example for Meg in the GR sense.
Yeah.
So she doesn't tell Meg that she's hanging out in Kevin's backyard at night at middle of 3 a.m.
Right.
Dad comes to get the money, and so she's keeping these little bits of pieces for herself, but not showing Meg.
Yeah. Then we go back to Tommy, and now Tommy has a bullseye on his head and no shoes. Yeah. Tommy comes back for Christine. He puts a bullseye on her, says, "Leave your shoes." They take off.
But before that, there's the scene where he's in the elevator, right?
Yeah, right.
Abandoned by his father, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we're like, what?
Yeah.
Too much. There's too many onions there, and it almost feels like fake onions to me, almost.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like it's almost like we're gonna put.
Wait, fake onions?
Well, there's so many.
Hold on. I don't think I've ever seen a fake onion.
Well, you just watched one in the elevator scene, and I'll explain. Things have layers, like onions have layers, right? Right. I just think that there's so much you can read on top of a line like that, like abandoned by my father. Well, which father?
Right.
Like we know he saved a relationship from a. We just found out Kevin saved a relationship from another man's mess, quote unquote, or whatever it said in the letter.
Right.
So which father? He's got 3 or 4 fathers he could be talking about. He could be talking about Wayne, Kevin, the biological father, Jesus, the baby Jesus.
And on top of that they had to have that conversation be with another lawman, right? And his dad is a lawman. So that's like fake onions.
Yeah. So it's like there's almost too much. So much layering, so much.
Okay, now I get it. No, I guess I have seen. I can't say I can no longer use that. I've never seen a fake onion.
I've never even actually. I just thought about it now. It's not like fake onions.
Hey, I'm gonna write it down. I might get a tattoo saying fake onion. We find Kevin's in Tommy's room. He finds a picture of Lori. He's looking at the picture, and what drops down? A picture of Lori, a pregnant Lori, with her Tommy's biological dad. He's kind of stares at it for a little bit, then puts the picture back up and all that thing. The twins return baby Jesus and start running away. And the one twin is trying to drive away, and the other twin's trying to get in the car. Again, comic relief from the twins.
Twins, Basil. Twins.
Yeah, I was watching an episode, rewatching The Office, and one of the twins is in the episode of The Office.
Yes, I remember that when we watched that.
They're interns, and I don't know which twin it is. But one of the twins.
Were they in the show Teen Wolf? I think they were in the show Teen Wolf.
Were they? I never saw the Teen
Wolf.
Never. I know they were.
Yeah.
They were into not Designing Women.
Ratchet.
No, what's the lane?
They were not born when Designing Women was on.
No, I know. What's the show where it was the 4 wives and
Desperate Housewives?
Desperate Housewives.
Yeah.
Okay. Really?
Girls?
Yes. Yeah, they were in the show Desperate Housewives. That's
how old were they?
They were young twins in Desperate Housewives.
I was about to say they had to have been real young because that show was as old as Lost.
And I think what happened is when they went ahead like 5 or 6, 7 years, that's when they became. I could be wrong. It's been a while. I did end up stop watching it because it got stupid.
All right, then we go back to Tommy, and he wakes up in a bus.
Yes, Christine and Tommy are on a bus, and he wakes up on the bus. And what's Christine doing?
Still talking
to someone else.
Yeah,
another guy named Tom.
This is another fake onion, by the way, Ethan.
There's a lot to say about this after the recap, like a ton.
Okay,
like a metric ton of stuff to say about this.
So you see this, okay.
So they come up to a wreck. Yeah, go ahead.
They come to a sudden stop. There's replicas of departed people all over the road because Tom goes to Tommy, "Hey, be careful. People want to bury these things."
Do we know they're departed people? Because
I think we assume
that made clear in that scene. Does that make clear?
That scene? No, but I think the commercial's been going on.
If you're paying really, really close attention to all the things in the background, I think you're supposed to be able to put it together.
Well, yeah, he did say someone paid a fortune to bury these, like you said.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, be careful.
I think the audience should. I mean, I don't know. It's really hard. You know, my grandmother watched the show last year, and so it was really hard trying to explain some things. I know she's older, but still, I'm thinking from a first-time viewer standpoint, if they've made that connection or not.
Then we go to the dance, and the mayor calls Kevin up, and he goes, "Hey, I've saved the baby Jesus," and all the people in there go.
Yeah, no one cared.
So suddenly it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like it wasn't a win. It wasn't, nobody cared.
Mm-hmm.
You can see him like going, I don't know how he doesn't go off on the mayor at that point, because the mayor's the one that set him out to find the baby Jesus.
I think the mayor knows he's unraveling and is trying to just send him on errands to like get him to just calm down.
But also it's also asymmetric, because it's like, if the baby Jesus doesn't get found, then it continues to be this lingering issue for the town, right?
Yeah.
But the moment like it's found, it's a non-issue anymore. People just realize it was never such a big deal to begin with, right? But as long as it's gone, it's a reminder to everyone about the departure.
Right. That's true. Good point.
But it's literally like, in my mind, it's literally like there's like 1% of 1% of one person that's being vocal about.
It's like a fake bleeding onion.
But you have to think about it in terms of like
So
the parents having to explain to their kids, where did the baby Jesus go? Did the baby Jesus depart?
Yeah,
so
because in episodes
I get
prior,
that.
we think the bagel departed, you know?
Yeah. But I get that. But wouldn't the parents be a little more excited that he found the baby? Okay, now I don't have to explain this. They're like, why are you ruining our party with the baby Jesus being found?
The overlap of people that care about the baby Jesus being missing and the people that went to the library opening dance is like zero.
Yeah.
Because we can see with Matt's church, it doesn't seem like a lot of people. I don't know how many churches are in this town, but it doesn't seem like a lot of people are going to church anymore.
Well, not Matt's
Right.
church.
Yeah. Then we have a great scene between Kevin and Nora, and he's talking to her in the hallway. They're going back and forth, and then you have that awkward moment where Kevin goes, "Oh," where he realized who Nora is, and it's like, he's trying to get out of it. We would all do that. We'd be like, if we didn't know who she was, "Oh yeah, you're the one that lost your whole family."
This scene, it still bothered me that he didn't know who she was. I mean, I know they're implying an age difference, but it's not that much, right? Like, he would have had interactions with her over the course of like 30 plus years.
You would think so.
In that small town.
Yeah.
But she did say her and her husband got married real soon, I believe, because she mentions her husband's locker. So
right.
They may have been married and, kept to themselves for the most part or whatever.
But yeah, I just wanted to say this to Caleb when we were talking like on the chat earlier this week. Like, when I first heard Kevin and Nora's name so close together, that's when I got my little James and Juliet vibe, like, just for a second. I got real happy about that for a second. It made my heart jump a little bit. Anyway,
yeah.
That.
Mm-hmm.
I was very happy that they.
And she goes, and she's telling the story. It took him. You were mentioning that his locker was so close, but it took him a year for him to notice her. And she goes to Kevin. He cheated on, and I found out he cheated on me. And he goes, "Yeah, I cheated on my wife." doesn't even. And he goes, "Why?" He goes, Is there
a good answer to that question?
Yeah.
By the way, let me just take a step back. At this point in time, during the first watch, back in 2014 or wherever, Jack's main crackpot theory was that Kevin was cleaning the gutters with Nora. So at this point in time, Jay was actually like trying to get Jack to recant it, but Jack's like, "No, I think they're just playing it off as if like it didn't happen."
It's called crackpot theory for a reason.
He doesn't back down.
I forgot about that.
It takes for him to back down from those. Is that right?
I don't remember saying the theory because I just don't remember, but it does make sense.
And it was great because like
I think the reason I did because he said he cheated on his wife too, and so was he talking about?
Yeah, and so like the way that Jack was talking about it, it was like they were kind of speaking in code, pretending like it didn't happen, right?
Little role play.
They were definitely. I would say that they were definitely flirting with each other.
Oh yeah.
Right. So okay. All right. Okay. So hear me. Yeah. Okay. I think it's a great. By
the way, that is an interesting situation because that happened probably within 24 hours of the scene where he gets the divorce papers, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I kind of have to respect him for, still having game after that event, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's face it. I don't want to go off on a Thoreau tangent real quick about how his massive sex appeal, but I'm comfortable with myself and I'll do it. Yeah.
There's no hiding it.
Well, I mean, like, listen, if his eyes go one other way when he's talking to Amy, it's a completely different story. It's all down to Justin Theroux and the way he acts on it after he talks. His annoyance with Amy eating a sandwich or whatever happens later in the season. And, I
mean, you could even argue that like that small scene in terms of the way that Nora is so direct and so honest, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is the complete antithesis of Laurie's inability to use her own voice to express her desire for the divorce. So that you could say that attraction comes from that. The fact that he's dealing with somebody who is like, at the risk of using a cliche, a complete straight shooter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's an onion. That's a real onion right there.
Thank you. I hope it tastes good.
It does.
Depends on the onion. I won't get into it. I won't go. Kevin, the GR show up, but they stayed 5 yards away. Kevin goes, screw it. We're going to arrest him anyway. And as they're being arrested, the rest of the GR are breaking into homes throughout the town, stealing, photographs and other belongings and so once again, Patty is always one step ahead of Kevin.
But
right?
She gives it away too. She gives that smile.
Yeah.
She's like,
because Kevin's like, we arrested you, ha 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 ha, and she's like, that's what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Yeah. And at this point, did we know why they were taking the photographs?
On original watch, I did not know why.
No. Yeah, I didn't either. But my question is, does anybody in the town have a home alarm system?
Well, at this point in time in the show, we don't know about the home alarm system.
Yeah. Because it seemed pretty easy for these non-professional thieves to break into houses.
But isn't it, in some cases, this might be their own homes, right?
Ah, good point.
But
the one, I forget the one GR that was in there with the woman that was an elderly lady. She did look at her like she knew her.
That was creepy.
That's a great point. I think she did know. Maybe they are breaking into their own homes
or their neighbor, something like that.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I thought it was interesting. Meg broke into Nora's.
Mm-hmm. And I bet you the GR have a clock so they know who has the alarm system and who doesn't.
I guess it just seems like it.
They have files on all the people.
Yeah,
that's true.
I don't know if we know that, but
yeah, we don't know that yet. That's spoiler.
No,
we're sorry.
In the first episode,
did they
passed them around?
Yeah, so
they passed them around.
That's not a spoiler.
So it's not a spoiler. Sorry.
Damn it!
Take it back, Jack.
Watch your mouth. Onion. I was going with you.
I'm gonna go eat a raw onion right now.
I became an onion believer, so. Then Laurie's going to walk back, and then we find out before that Matt brings. He had a spare baby Jesus.
Who doesn't?
He puts it in the manger and all that fun stuff, and then Laurie goes back to get the lighter, but she can't reach the lighter, and the whole time screaming, "Take the jacket off!"
I was like, you should have brought one of those claws.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, do we know? Because we don't. Because we don't know what happened with. Does she get it back? Does she not get it back? But obviously, that's what she was planning the whole time. You think that she was saying, "Okay, I will go get this later on tonight when we're out stealing stuff. I'll just walk back to that spot and take the lighter back without anyone knowing it." right? Because they can't have personal belongings. So, and again, she doesn't know if she can trust Meg at this point or not. I do think it's nice that she did go back and get the lighter, because at first, when she throws it into the sewer or the drain, we're upset with her. At the end, we're like, okay, there is a little bit of heart there. She does have some heart. And then we had Kevin has the baby Jesus. He's looking at it and just says, "Screw it," and throws it out his truck.
And it kind of ends.
Yes, and that's it. That was the episode. So the hunt for the baby Jesus at the end, the baby Jesus was just kicked to the side of the road. Good episode. Great episode. Go ahead.
Very good.
I mean,
it's not my favorite of the series because of the Tommy and Christine storyline, but
it wasn't.
No,
you don't like Tommy and Christine.
I'm just not invested in that.
Okay.
I like Kevin and Nora and Lori and Jill and that dynamic. I think that upon I guess during the first watch you're kind of absorbing it all, but for now, because I know, I'm just kind of like blah. Let's get on with it.
All right.
It's literally like the lowest point of the series, I think. Like, is this episode? Yeah.
I'm gonna agree with that. I really liked it because of the acting. I thought the acting, obviously we know some of the plot lines aren't going anywhere, but I think the acting was so good in this episode.
I don't want to confuse the issue. Okay. I'm not saying this is a bad episode of the Leftovers. It's the lowest point of episodes in my opinion, of the Leftovers. And I said, I think there's two scenes that really do it. It's the, and we can dive into my personal issues later, which come to fore later. Anytime I see like a deep divorce scene, I have a trigger for that because of what happened. But besides that, like the phenomenal acting and the Kevin and Nora scene really are the best reasons for this episode.
Right.
That's what I think. But I definitely think, and I found out some information about it because I did a Google search. There's a machine you can type in.
Search it. That's nice.
And I found out that I have been reading the book again, so I actually have some information. And that scene, can we talk about spoilers and stuff?
Yeah, I think we're into that section.
Yeah, we're there. Go ahead.
That scene where Christine talks to the guy on the bus, that is much bigger in the book.
Okay.
And she really gets into it. And there's a long thing with them stopping at a truck stop, and she's getting closer to him. And he seems
the other Tom. He seems like he's not going to be cool, but then he ends up being cool. But she, really befriends him. And they shot more of that. I read that they shot more of that scene. And then afterwards, Damon Lindelof saw that he made a really huge mistake by giving all the screen time to this one character that you only see once. Right.
So I guess they cut him out and made, it was a big story thing. And that's why, it makes a lot more sense now why it's an uneven episode, even within the series.
Okay.
Which was a big revelation to me actually watching it.
So you're saying in the original cut that it would have been a much more of a Tom and Christine centric episode? It would have been, and there'd be a lot more of her on the bus with this other Tom, like getting close to him and everything. Instead, they split that in half and took the stuff from the main town and filled the rest. Interesting.
That's what, and it's also, that goes along with it being the shortest episode of the entire series. And I think the biggest takeaway is this is the last episode where there's no Mimi letter involvement. They even reshot some things with a separate director. There's 2 credited directors on this episode.
So you were saying, Ethan, before that in the scene where the bus stops and they see the all the cargo come out.
Yeah,
You're saying there's something more there that we could have seen if we had paid attention.
No. I was just saying there's no. But that was basically what I was going to say about
Got it.
there being a lot more stuff with that other guy.
Right. Got it.
A lot more episode.
All right. I mean, my feeling on the episode was, I actually liked this episode more than the pilot. And it's part of it is because we're further into the series and we know the characters. And it's just because, and again, it might be because we know the rest of the series. This is where you start seeing like the entire emotional range. It's like now you like, if you like the roller coaster, you love this episode.
There's an article I found and I was going to post it next week, and it's called "Why I Quit the Leftover." Why I quit watching The Leftovers, and it was published right after next week's episode. And if you go from next week's episode into the first 5 minutes, or if you go to this episode to the first 5 minutes of next week's episode, I see that point of view a little bit.
Well, that's because that was the same person that also wrote "Why I Love Heroes" and I want the show to come back, right?
Did they really? I don't know. Did they?
I don't have to read. I don't even have to Google who it is.
Yeah,
I already know it's a Heroes fan.
But again, the whole. But we're 4 episodes into this series. It's still depressing.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no. Yeah. There's no. Other than the twins, right?
Yeah.
There's no comic. There's no comic relief. There's no. We've said it every episode. It's a depressing subject. But
the whole baseline of the world that they live in is there was this event that nobody can explain that everyone's still dealing with. So
it can't help but be depressing.
So that it's all about like the ability to survive, right?
Yeah.
In some ways it's not that different from like the first season of Walking Dead where you're like cheering for these people like to kill the zombies, except this is in a much more realistic setting, right?
Yeah, you're cheering for people to get their lives together, or to be honest with one another, or to let it all go, or to forget about the mysteries.
I agree with it, but I think people that are viewing it go, I got enough problems with my own life. I don't need to watch this over and over and over again. Because it's not a show with a lot of action, especially the first 4 episodes. There's not. Other than Kevin writing the tale of the twins, that's probably the most action you're going to get in the. I'm just saying that I can see why some people decided, hey, I can't watch this.
Well, and that's the whole point. That's why I said that kind of tongue in cheek that the person who wrote that also wrote about how they love heroes. Is that in order to appreciate the show, you have to really like dig deeper.
Right.
You have to work.
Yeah.
You have to work to be able to.
But most people aren't willing to do that.
No.
That's why a lot of people left Lost. They go, okay, I can't do this anymore. Just give me the answers. I just want to be force fed.
But like we said, we're not here for The Departed. We're here for The Leftovers.
Right.
So, Ethan, do we have any more other spoilers this week?
No, not really. There's so like not much to build on unless you're going into like the next episodes, which those shows of ours are going to be much longer because they're even starting next week. There's so much more going on.
Well, we know that Kevin and Nora hook up, right? They become a couple.
That still is a few episodes away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it really like you look at the actor hierarchy on the show and you can see how they like basically promised certain people that they were going to be featured actors. And, Carrie Coon, it seems, is going to slowly steal some of that from some people because she's so good. Do you know?
Right.
And, I'm
well, I liked how I do like how going back to that Kevin Nora scene where you could tell they were flirting with each other, but it wasn't like, okay, let's go now. It wasn't right away. It took some time for it to happen.
And I think what's amazing about that scene, if I think about it more in the context of everything else that's like depressing, is like that is probably like the most hopeful scene so far in the show, right?
Right.
Right. And the thing is, what I love about this show so much is that after you get through this, the emotional wellness is so high, and it doesn't take that much for it to get there, but they hit it just so right that, you know, it's like a big blooming onion.
Well, I think it's also hopeful. It's also hopeful that Lori went back to get the ladder.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good
That's
point.
a big moment that could change the course of the show, potentially.
Because of what we said, like I said, it showed that she does have a heart. She does care.
And now with what Jack said, with her acting the way you see, you know, this is going to be, you know, Amy Brenneman's silent acting plays such a huge part in this whole show, especially getting towards the very end. And we'll talk about that in 20 hours or something. But, you know, she's so good. The level of what I see on the shows. The only reason I do that stupid Sopranos thing is because it's the only acting level show that I feel like deserves to even be compared to that show when you get to these individual performances of people. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, it is incredible. I mean, like I said, to be able to give that kind of where you feel the emotion, where they're just not. I remember I said, well, she's a pretty big actress. Why is she doing it? Why don't you take on a role where she doesn't speak? But the challenge, and of course later on we find out she does have, you know. Anyway, to take on that, it probably was maybe just the challenge of taking on that type of role. I mean, I would guess a lot of actors like different challenges, and so, but she nailed it. She did a great job with it.
But she's definitely one of the people I feel like was promised, you know, to come on the show. You are going to have to trust me, and I'm going to get you somewhere, and was able to fulfill that promise. Janelle Maloney, on the other hand, was probably given that talk and not followed through. Matt's wife, you know.
Yeah.
Donna.
Yeah. Right.
Well, speaking about Matt, I mean, that's the third. I mean, that's the third sign of hope. The fact that this guy who's lost everything still has his own baby Jesus that he can share with the community. And I mean, what's amazing about it, if you think about it, so how long was the episode, Ethan? Let's say it was 38
like 15
minutes.
or something like that.
Okay. So you rewind that amount of time, and the last time we see him is he's staring at the GR that stole his church. And he's lost everything. And then the next time we see him in the show, it's like, oh, I had a spare one, you know?
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. Merry Christmas, right? Like as if like nothing happened, right?
Where he's actually being he's actually acting like you would think a preacher minister would be, and not going out and trying to ruin people's lives by telling what they did in the past before they departed.
I don't think they planned on doing this, but it's almost like a perfect parallel to in Matt's episode where you see Kevin for like a hot second, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to come over for a barbecue?" And at that moment, when you see that Kevin, you'd say like, "Oh, this is kind of like a cool police chief, not the guy who's shaking the toaster to get the bagel out." So the perspective is interesting in that sense.
Well, he knew Matt, right? He knew Matt in the past. So how did he not go into? I think it was Caleb brought this up. How did he not know Nora?
That's what I was thinking.
You brought it up.
Yeah, it's weird. It doesn't. To me, that's one of the few inconsistencies in the show.
Again, that's why the theory came out. I just can't bring it up because they were playing like they didn't know each other.
Anybody have a guess? The AC is. We got the BJ. We all know what that is. Anyone got the AC?
No.
Okay.
It's cold outside.
Air conditioning?
Yeah. Well, no, it's cold. It's winter. It's cold. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, I mean, like a lot of people just insinuated that it was the Antichrist.
Oh.
And they were speaking of the Antichrist as Wayne's baby.
Mm.
Oh, good.
And that came up a lot, but it was one of those things that they may have been hinting at, but it didn't come to fruition because, they hadn't found the footing yet. So that's what I think.
Good job.
But I haven't heard anything else. It's never actually directly said. BJ.
I think that's spot on.
Ethan, in the book, is there this whole baby Jesus thing?
No,
So it's just
I don't think so.
This entire plot line is just made up for filler.
I don't know.
Like there's no Kevin cursing in the car about the effing baby Jesus and the car stops.
I know Kevin is such a more mellow guy in the book.
Right.
He's so more mellow. What they have is they have him and Nora meeting. They have the divorce scene, kind of.
Mm.
Little things like that.
No.
I don't think the show works with a mellow Kevin. I think it needs a angry, intense Kevin.
Yep.
A wrathful Kevin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And did you know? Okay, so this is one spoiler. Did you know that in that early scene with Amy and Jill and Kevin, Jill says, "Jesus, Dad." That's a spoiler for the future. Yeah, that's what.
I mean, when I was watching the first acted scene this time, which is obviously what we talked about already, with Patty in the police department with Kevin, right? And then you immediately think about the rest of the series. And I know they had interaction before, but this is the first time they're face to face and really like talking, right? He's saying stuff and she's responding with her eyes and facial touch. And I was just thinking about like the fact that it started there and went to where it goes in season 2 it's incredibly brilliant.
Right.
And that was the issue with this episode. I kept thinking about looking forward to the next episode and what's coming, because this one ended. Like he throws the baby Jesus out the window and it just goes black and you're just like,
yeah.
But still your feeling when you saw that is like, great, now I want to watch Gladys, right?
Now, yeah, it is.
It just made you hungrier when you saw that, right?
Wow.
And Gladys is the other GR, right? She's the.
What's the name of the next episode?
Yeah, but that's the
blonde GR
with the glasses.
Okay. All right. Now it's coming back to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's all coming back to you now.
It sometimes it takes a while to just. I'm older.
Oh, the last thing I have to say about this episode is when you guys recorded your podcast back then, you spent the first 10 minutes talking about how you lost your luggage on the flight to San Diego.
I didn't lose it.
Or the airport.
and everything I needed in it.
Ethan, he was talking about how he was running through Dulles Airport.
Yeah, just like OJ.
It's a bit whoa now, come on.
So, but Jack, the reason I bring it up is that it reminded me that like when you do a podcast on a show that is like new, it also like often there was like that's how we actually found out what was going on in your life, right? Like you guys would be doing some chit chat with Jay. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. This is like there'd be like this really smooth back and forth. Like talking about leftovers 1 second, and the next second you'd be talking about stuff that happened in your backyard, right?
Yeah, a lot of it was my fault, but I do remember that was the first time I ever had and after that I think I like 3 or 4 times it happened to me. After that, it's like, what the hell am I doing wrong? And their attitude, is, oh, it's not here, it'll show up. Like,
so, but basically,
Jira.
Yeah.
But it was amazing because there was like the symmetry between you running in the airport and Tommy running in the hospital.
Well, that's when I was in shape and could run. Was I late for a connection flight? Is that what it was?
It was a connection flight to San Diego for Comic-Con.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. And Dulles is a big airport.
Yeah.
It's a big airport.
So
because it never makes sense where you have to fly. It go from Raleigh to Dulles, then to San Diego. San Diego to Dulles. I go, why can't it just go? Wouldn't it be faster just to go to Raleigh than to make me sit there for 2.5 hours and wait for the 20-minute flight to? Anyway.
You could catch the 320 out of Zebulon.
And it's Zebulon,
which is the worst name for a town I've ever heard in my entire life. Which you live near, right?
Yeah, I do live next. That's where the Mudcats play, the AA team.
The Zebulon in Zebulon.
Zebulon, yeah. There's an airport there?
No, I'm just saying. I just want to say the word Zebulon.
Okay, all right.
We noticed.
Yeah.
It's a cool happen place. All right.
I just feel like everyone should know that I'm gonna have a lot more to say like next week and the week after.
Yeah. Same.
Mhm. Yeah.
Me too. But is that all we got tonight?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Great job tonight, guys. Thanks for Randy for being in the chat.
Thanks, Randy.
That's the only one we had today. I think Easter, too many people are out there hungover. I know it's Passover, whatever it's supposed to be, but hungover.
First Seder went good. Leftover matzo ball soup. Excited.
Yeah. There you go. Good job.
That's all we want.
All right, guys. We'll be back next Sunday for another exciting episode. Gladys. And it's not Gladys from Bewitch. All right, guys. We're out.
All right. Bye.
Bye.